The Invest in Climate Secure Cape Town series showcases how Cape Town is A. Committed and accountable to investing into building climate resilience, B. Globally recognized for climate leadership, resilience building in responding to climate crisis, and building proactive plans based on the learnings, and C. Known for its supportive and inclusive green economy business ecosystem. This episode is part of the Invest in Climate Secure Cape Town series, a two-part series supported by the City of Cape Town Department of Enterprise and Investment, produced in partnership with City of Cape Town Risk and Resilience Department in the Future Planning and Resilience Directorate, and GreenCape, featuring Gareth Morgan, Executive Director for Planning and Resilience at the City of Cape Town. Gareth, welcome. It's lovely to have you on the show. You lead a directorate called Future Planning and Resilience in the City of Cape Town. It appears to be unique compared to other metros in South Africa. Can you explain how this came about and what's its overall mission?
The Future Planning and Resilience Directorate has been in existence for about 2.5 years now in the City of Cape Town. It came into existence at the start of the new term of office of the current administration. The idea for the directorate was to both look at planning from a medium and long-term point of view, along, of course, with the near term, and to scan the horizon at all points in time for changing planning variables, whether it be climate change or population change or economic change, as well as various other global forces, for example, technological change, the extent to which the world may be becoming multipolar, all of those considerations, and to include those fully into the full range of planning instruments in the City of Cape Town. And in addition, it co-locates a large range of other functions in the city, including risk management, business continuity management, climate change hazard and risk analysis, all the capital portfolio management, contract management, corporate comms, and organizational development. So brought all together into a team of about 350 professionals who are thinking about our future, but are also thinking about the things that may be more challenging in our future, and then what to do about those. So we look at all three of those lenses of planning, short, medium, and large, and we influence large parts of the organization, and we work hand in hand with all the other directorates to help them achieve their goals.
What are the key climatic changes that Cape Town is facing and need to build resilience for?
So Cape Town faces a range of climatic stresses, that which changes over time, and of course, climatic shocks, those that materialize in a shorter period of time, and they may have a beginning and end. We, of course, when we talk about Cape Town, always talk about drought. We're a city that lived through the large-scale existential crisis of day zero between 2016 and 2018 or so. So drought is familiar to all parts of the world, but the extremities of drought is, of course, what should concern Cape Townians. Along with that is a projected gradual decrease in mean annual rainfall as well, which means over time, less water will be collected on an annual basis on average in the dam systems that surround the city. Other climatic stresses and shocks which are manifesting now and in our future include increased incidences of fire, whether it be both in the urban environment or of a more traditional wildfire type, as well as flooding. Increased incidence of flooding. So notwithstanding a mean annual decrease in rainfall, it's certainly the case that the number of extreme rain events on an annual basis can increase, and how it intersects with the urban environment really determines the extent of upheaval in a particular location. Storm surge. Cape Town has a long history of storm surge that could increase in number. And then we would also expect a growing number of high heat days in our future. So those are a range of climatic stresses and shocks, which are being included more holistically into a range of planning documents and for the purpose of executing projects that respond to the wide range of climatic stresses and shocks in Cape Town.
With the significant changes in rainfall patterns, temperatures, and sea levels, what specific adaptation strategies is Cape Town implementing to mitigate these climate impacts? And how do these strategies contribute to the city's overall climate resilience?
So the city has a range of strategic instruments. We always start in the city of Cape Town with the Integrated Development Plan. The current term is 2022 to 2027. Our vision is to be a city of hope, and a wide range of initiatives and projects have extreme climate co-benefits. I think at this point, it's worth saying that, we're a municipality. Our core functions is the delivery of basic services, whether it be energy or water or solid waste or transport solutions. All of that is important and is part of why we exist as an organization. So the challenge here is to guarantee that service delivery in the context of a growing population. Cape Town is currently about 4.7 million people. We would expect it, based on our forecast, to grow to about 7.6 million people by 2050. And so extending that service delivery, renewing it, is critically important. But it needs to be done in a way that is cognizant of the changing climate, particularly from an adaptive point of view. So notwithstanding an increase in population, Cape Town's population is growing by approximately a net increase of 100,000 a year at this point in time. One also needs to factor in those climatic changes, like I said previously, a gradual decrease in mean annual rainfall, and then, of course, the times when there are extreme events. So we take climate change along with the demographic change and the economic analysis for the city, both now and projected into the future, and we use those all as planning variables. The climate change variable doesn't trump any of the others. Our core here is to deliver those basic services, but it needs to be done in a way that takes into account those changes and is able to, of course, to respond to disruption when it occurs. So the IDP has a range of projects and programs focused obviously on basic services, as well as a resilient city and transport and human settlements. And what we've done in our integrated development plan is to tag the programs and initiatives in the IDP with climate tagging. So the reader and the user of the document isn't going to necessarily find a climate change section. That's not how we believe strategy should be written. The entire document folds up into being a climate response, along with a range of other deliverables that are required in the city of Cape Town. So I always start with the integrated development plan. We do have a specific climate action plan as well. We have our resilience strategy, we have the water strategy, and we have the energy strategy as well. And all of those strategies build out the detail more considerably than is permissible inside of an integrated development plan. So we have strategy coherence in the city of Cape Town, thinking more deeply about disruption, and our future is a legacy of the drought event from 2016 to 2018. And so building on the resilience features in other strategies is important as well. But beyond that, obviously, execution is very, very important. And in Cape Town, our massive investment into project program and portfolio management has allowed us to build a considerable portfolio of projects for implementation over the next decade and beyond. All of that is guided by a high quality project methodology, which means that we are able to see the projects that are at various stages of implementation, whether it be in concept or feasibility, or just before procurement, or at the budget stage, or in execution, or in commissioning. And that's very important as we analyze what is inside of the portfolio for execution versus what is the need, particularly if you look at, for example, the changing climate. How is that portfolio implemented over time, responding to what the science is saying is expected to materialize inside of Cape Town? So in summary, we have the strategy component and we have the execution component, and that execution component talks to a large number of projects, and I'm happy to speak more about that.
Gareth, how is the City of Cape Town integrating climate considerations into its governance, processes, and procedures?
The City of Cape Town has, over the last few years, made considerable strides in integrating climate change considerations into existing methods and tools of governance. We have looked at various models of the way climate change is governed. We've moved away from previous models, which still exist in most other governments in South Africa, where climate change is sort of pigeonholed into a particular part of the city, often in environment departments or related types of functions. And that's certainly the case at a national level. We treat it through a risk lens. And so hence climate change is featured as one of the major risks for the City of Cape Town, along with other risks, for example, state of infrastructure or the impacts of extortion and the construction mafia, or the state of the fiscus and the national economy. So we treat it alongside other risks, and we obviously treat it in that particular way. So climate change integrated into risk management is vitally important. Climate change integrated into business continuity management is another consideration which we have made. Climate change integrated into project and portfolio management, and maybe let me make another comment about that, is also very, very important. So in our enterprise management system, which we run every single project in the city on, there are thousands of capital projects in our portfolio at this point in time. Every single project manager is expected in a module inside of the project enterprise system to tag their projects for climate benefit. We look at both the resilience through the infrastructure. So that is the benefit that is to be gained by one community or the city as a whole, as well as the resilience of the project. That is the ability of that project to withstand disruption during the execution and ultimately the commissioning and handover of that particular project. It's a very, very important step to have taken because it improves the data and the ability to analyze the portfolio and the extent to which it responds to whatever the climatic impacts are expected to be. And we've been doing that for about 3 years now. And so we're able to talk with considerably more certainty around the extent to which the portfolio is responding to climate change. So the integration of climate considerations into project, program, and portfolio management is vitally important as well. Of course, there are other tools which are important and methods, the integration of climate into, for example, public communications. We now run a year-long Let's Act campaign. It has various deliverables at different points of the year. Let's Act is a call to community action, and it can be the tagline for a range of different actions where government wants to partner with communities, whether it be in the waste space or whether it be in the energy space or whether it be in the environment space. The Let's Act campaign is the tagline and tool of corporate communications and is useful for encouraging action from residents of Cape Town. So those are some examples. Of course, climate change is also fully integrated into our strategic management framework, which is our annual way of looking at the pivots that are required in the organization over a shorter planning cycle, 1 to 3 years. So consideration is given to that as well. So climate change is becoming more familiar to a much wider range of city officials, because instead of treating it as something different or something new that needs to be put in a particular box, it is feeding through the existing governance processes which are established by municipal legislation already, whether it be the Municipal Systems Act or the Municipal Finance Management Act. And that makes it much easier for city officials to respond and ultimately to act as well.
How is the City of Cape Town demonstrating accountability to the investment commitments made to build climate resilience?
Transparency is very, very important. One of the values of the City of Cape Town is openness. And so over the course of the last 2 years, both in early 2023 and early 2024, we published the infrastructure report. The mayor launches it. The mayor takes a massive interest in this particular report, which accounts for the 10-year portfolio for energy, water, waste, human settlements, and mobility. But importantly, also, the infrastructure report is a self-critique. It says those areas of the portfolios which are very mature, in other words, the number of projects in the portfolio over that 10-year period is at a high level. And it also acknowledges those areas, for example, for which the project development is less mature. So, for example, in our infrastructure report in 2023, we drew particular attention to the need for a greater number of projects that respond to flood, as well as to coastal processes. And so the methodology we use is that through the transparency, we create accountability, and then working with the sector planners inside of the line directorates in the City of Cape Town, we encourage more projects in the portfolio over the period of time that respond to those areas of deficiency inside of the portfolio. We, of course, republished it this year. And this year in the infrastructure report, we did a much deeper analysis of the portfolio. We were able to show that 1,540 odd projects in the 10-year portfolio have specific climate benefit. They may have other core goals, but they have specific climate benefit. The entire portfolio for the next 10 years is 120 billion, and of that, about 55.5 billion rand is projects which have specific climate benefit. And that can be delineated in response to particular shocks, whether it be drought or flooding or fire or storm surge for that matter. The investment community, of course, people to enter into relationships for funding, for example, or it could be partners in the procurement space who have a desire to implement projects, if they win, of course, competitive tenders in the future, take a great interest in the ability to see portfolios developing over time, because they can get a firm understanding of where the city is going beyond strategy, but with far more emphasis on these are real projects that will emerge, either for requiring of external funding or for the purposes of partnering through whatever method of delivery there is. So the feedback we have received from the broad community, whether it be the built environment community or the investment community, is that this is very, very welcome. We, of course, also want to be able to show very tangibly to organizations and people that wish to relocate to Cape Town, to invest in Cape Town, to visit Cape Town, that this is a city that takes its future seriously, that has an understanding of the changing nature and impacts of climate over time, and that would be a good place to invest, and that that investment would be secure, relative possibly to other places that are not taking climate change, for example, seriously. And of course, we also want to be able to encourage and co-locate specifically businesses and enterprises that want to work in the green economy space. And there's a lot of activity already in that space in Cape Town. So sharing information, becoming accountable to oversight is very, very important. And the feedback we get, particularly from things like the credit rating agencies, is that this level of transparency is very, very welcome and is not common with other cities in South Africa and in the world.
Gareth, for businesses looking to invest in Cape Town, how does the city's commitment to climate resilience and its substantial infrastructure investments provide a competitive advantage and ensure long-term business resilience?
I think two examples that have played out that are well known. One example, of course, is relevant to the whole South Africa. Is a good way of thinking about continuity of basic services. So, for example, the impacts of the extreme drought in Cape Town from 2016 to 2018 period, resulted in a need to curtail water consumption, and that had considerable impact on many businesses. And of course, from a reputational point of view, it also did damage to our reputation as a place to visit, and had impact on various related sectors like hospitality and so on. And so our commitment, of course, as the city of Cape Town is through our augmentation investments, which are in execution now, and which we intend to become water resilient to both the change in demographic and the possibility of further extreme drought events by 2030. And by doing that, our commitment, and it's made very, very clearly inside of the water strategy, is that we would never, ever want to restrict the water like was required in 2017, 2018, because we want to ensure that level of continuity that is required so that businesses and enterprises and, of course, households can continue to thrive even during adverse events. The other example, of course, is load shedding. Notwithstanding the fact that the load shedding profile in 2024 has been considerably less severe than it was in 2023, load shedding causes considerable interruptions to the operations of business. And that is clear in the GDP growth figures for South Africa over the last 2 years. So the ability to provide energy security as the primary goal, but energy security with the climate co-benefit also is important for continuity. That is the reliable supply of electricity. And in Cape Town's case, the commitment of the mayor is very clearly that we intend to be able to counter 4 stages of load shedding from the national utility Eskom. And so hence there are a range of investments, many of them well into execution as we speak, that intend to achieve that 4 stages of amelioration of load shedding by around about 2026, 2027. And so the idea is, and the key strategic outcome here is the ability to provide reliable electricity so that households, businesses, and the people of Cape Town can thrive there as well, of course, in a climate responsible way. And it so happens that many of the solutions, the faster market solutions at this point in time anyway, are more decentralized options of a green or renewable nature. So that is very, very important. And setting ourselves up as a point of difference as a city in South Africa is important. We have a mandate to provide these services, as I've already said. We need to do it in a continuous way with absolute minimal disruptions to service at any point in time. That is what is expected of a municipality. So our infrastructure bill obviously focuses both on renewing infrastructure and rehabilitating infrastructure and then building the new infrastructure. We would hope that that is attractive as well to investors who are thinking about where to locate their enterprises, factories, or warehouses, and that they will be able to take comfort from our infrastructure portfolio that our intentions are in fact very genuine and real to deliver on this kind of reliability, not only now and in the next few years, but over a much longer period of time so that people can realize the return on the investments that they desire.
Can you elaborate on the key resilient capital infrastructure projects Cape Town is investing in to ensure energy and water security, and how these projects are expected to accelerate the transition to a carbon neutral economy?
let me talk first about the water portfolio. So the new water program has a committed component of its program, which is 300 million liters of additional water a day. The plan is to deliver that program by 2030, and it is a combination of aquifer abstraction and then aquifer recharge, as well as direct water reuse, as well as desalinization. So the abstraction and the aquifer recharge have been in execution already for 3 years and is nearing completion at this point in time. And the expectation is that we would execute the other projects between 2027 and 2028. There's also an adaptable component of this program, which is intended for execution between 2030 and 2040. Adaptable is important here, and it's an important component of portfolio management because you'll build those projects awaiting decisions to proceed with those. Because, of course, the environment is changing constantly, and we're currently reviewing that adaptable component, not with an intention not to deliver it, but because the planning variables may change over time. And we also want to see what investments are going to be committed to by, for example, the National Department of Water and Sanitation in the next decade. But that is an additional 250 million liters of water a day between 2030 and 2040. So the strategic outcome is water resilience by 2030 and water sensitive by 2040. I think ultimately our goal is to move the reliance on surface water, that is the water from our dams, which is currently at about 96%, to 75% by 2040. That other 25% would be made up by greater components of desal or aquifer abstraction or direct water reuse. In the energy space, as I noted already, the key strategic outcome really is energy security, or what the IDP calls end load shedding over time. And so this is an area which the mayor is leading very, very closely. He runs his own mayoral priority program on this, and securing that energy security, particularly in a short term, is a critical factor for the city of Cape Town at this point in time. And there are a range of projects which are well into execution at this point in time. That includes independent power producers, so energy produced by private contractors. That is in the region of about 200 megawatts. There is also the Power Heroes program. That is where a third party is used to contract with residents for load reduction at specific points in time. There's also considerable effort going into wheeling at this point in time. There's the Cash for Power program, which seeks to enroll a greater number of Cape Townians, whether residential or commercial and business, into the grid-tied renewable energy solutions. There is also other projects around battery storage, particularly at a pilot level, and ground-mounted solar, and then considerable effort as well into dispatchable IPP, which could be closer to, for example, 500 megawatts an hour. So considerable effort and momentum in these particular programs. A lot of these have already gone through procurement in our procurement system and are at various stages of contracting at this point in time. And as I said, the overall aim here is to be able to end load shedding over time, notwithstanding the reasonably good load shedding profile for South Africa at this point in time. A responsible government isn't going to sit back and expect that that load shedding will be gone for good. We need to work on the basis that it will return and whatever level, and we must be able to be resilient to fairly high stages of load shedding going forward.
Gareth, in closing, how has the city of Cape Town been globally recognized for demonstrating climate leadership?
Cape Town is part of a range of networks around the world of other cities seeking to advance responses to climate change. The most notable one is the C40, which is a body which brings together, I think, slightly under 100 mayors at this point in time. And we play a very, very active role and keep up with the membership requirements that are part of being a member of C40. We're also a member of the Resilient Cities Network, which is a body that brings together chief resilience officers from around the world to share around a range of resilience outcomes, and not just in the climate space, although there is a particular focus in that regard. We also participate and are close to, for example, organizations like ICLEI, which brings together a very, very large number of local governments, very big ones and very, very small ones, also from around the world, that includes climate change, but a range of other biodiversity and environmental topics as well. In terms of transparency and recognition, the city has an A rating from the CDP, the Climate Disclosure Project. We are currently the only city in Africa with an A rating, and we perform this disclosure on an annual basis. This is a very, very important mark of achievement for us as the city of Cape Town. The investment community and the credit rating agencies take a strong interest in this particular rating. In fact, in some of the recent large borrowings that have been concluded with finance institutions, they have taken a very keen interest in Cape Town's climate response, its portfolio of projects, as well as its rating from a third-party rating agency like the CDP, which, as I said, focuses specifically on climate change. And most recently, the city received a special mention in the Lee Kuan Yew City Prize, which is arguably the most prestigious city prize in the world. It was won by Mexico City. We were one of 4 cities in the world that received a special mention. And it's notable that in the citation that went with that special mention, it was about Cape Town's efforts to build resilience and to learn from extreme events that have happened in the past, most notably the drought event, and to plot a different way forward that is more cognizant of the changes that are happening both now and are likely to happen in the future.
A big thank you to Gareth Morgan, City of Cape Town and GreenCape for this insightful conversation on Future Cities Africa.